Welcome to Beyond the Bottom Line.
Good afternoon and welcome to Beyond the Bottom Line. Today we have Daniel Gutierrez, who is a mentor, coach, motivational speaker and an author, and has previously had a very, very interesting career, both helping politically and also in big business. So a lot of expertise. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Well, thank you for having me, Anna.
We're going to talk about improving leadership and career success, but also at the same time enjoying all aspects of our life, particularly by practicing radical mindfulness, which is something that you've developed. But can we just start by talking about what everyone seems to be fixed on, which is that position and salary are often the holy grail of our career path. So many of us do absolutely everything possible to achieve them, but then we often end up sacrificing a lot along the way and even losing, the very things that we're trying to do it for. We end up losing it because we're just not there, like with our family and, more time for ourselves. So how can we reassess this and how can we improve our handling of this?
That's a good question. I was in the same position for many, many years, chasing the carrot that they would put in front of me. Corporate would give us more stock, and of course, it was never vested, so you couldn't get it. You had to wait 5 years or 10 years to be able to spend it, and so they'd give more and more stock and more and more stock, and the carrot got bigger and bigger. And I think that I don't think that the big companies are necessarily always deceiving us, but they realize in order to keep high-level, high-producing executives or employees, they have to do something that gives them hope in the future. Yeah. The problem with that, as many of us have found out over the last couple of decades, is companies don't last anymore. Yeah. There is no guarantee that you're going to be in business next year. I mean, look what happened with the world pandemic. And even before that, big companies like Mattel Toys and went out of business. And so for me, it was always about that carrot, chasing that carrot. I needed to be on another cover of a magazine as if 4 wasn't enough. I needed to close a bigger deal as if the ones that I closed. I needed to do this TV show. I need to do this interview. And the truth is, if most of us are honest with ourselves, it's never fulfilling. It's an empty hole. It's an empty hole that seems to always need food. It needs to be fed. And that's what I was in, and it wasn't until I was in New York City on Fifth Avenue at a posh restaurant, membership only, that I really realized, is this it? So I've done what society said I had to do to look successful or be successful, but am I really happy? Yeah. And I think that's the real question that we have to ask ourselves, because most people in the business world, and I guess in politics too, you spend all your life building a career or a brand only to have to buy your health later on. Yeah. Or to step back and hope that you can restore the relationship, be it marriages, children, relatives, because you spent so much time pleasing others. So I think that the question, one of the things that I've often said about the pandemic is that if your life today is as busy as it was before the pandemic, then you've learned nothing. Because that pause was an opportunity to change things and to put things into perspective, especially as corporate or business people who seem to get caught up in the, rat race of corporate climbing, so to speak. So, I think that a redirection of your thoughts and ideas, I think everybody must have had this thought during the lockdown, the world lockdown, and that is, am I really in the right place? Is it really worth it? Yeah. And now as the world begins to open back up again, we've totally forgotten that. Yeah. We've totally forgotten that, and we're right back in the middle of the soup that we created.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, thinking of you, because I can't remember how many years it is now since you sort of moved out of the rat race. But I mean, is it? Huh. Yeah. You saw the light before a lot of people then. But I mean, you were earning a fortune, literally.
Yep.
I mean, and you were advisor to the White House. You were earning 7 figures, all of that, which is really what so many people have. I mean, they wouldn't even dream in their wildest dreams, they wouldn't dream that high. And yet you were doing it. And you saw a different vision. You saw a different future based on mindful leadership.
Yeah.
So why and how is this leadership different? Because that, I think, is what so many people, they can't quite get from one to the other, or they don't understand the difference.
Yeah, I think mindful leadership is exactly what it says. Mindfulness is the ability to be present.
Yeah.
And leadership is the ability to lead. In our world today, the old way of browbeating people to get things done is way gone.
Yeah.
You know, and so how do we lead in this century? How do we lead in this time of world change and world uncertainty? And that is mindful. That is being mindful of your leadership and in your leadership. And I think that one of the reasons why I think I was successful in my career was because I was able to always put myself in the employee's place, whether I was managing up or down.
Yeah.
You know, I always made the attempt to do the right thing based on humans, not, you know, always taking the corporate side, but thinking about people.
Yeah.
And even more today, because people have had an opportunity to pause, they just don't want to take that anymore. They don't want their life to be all about work. And so I think that mindful leadership requires an individual, be it an entrepreneur or a corporate person, to really be aware of their actions on a moment by moment basis. That's the part of my last book called Radical Mindfulness. Why is it radical mindfulness versus just mindfulness? Because most of the time we think as mindfulness is something we do in the moment, which is true, but we don't do it again the rest of the day. In other words, we might do meditation in the morning, we might do yoga in the morning, and then that's it. We don't think about it anymore. And then the first thing we do, we get on a major freeway, someone cuts us off and your fingers start flying. You know, that's not mindfulness. That's not mindfulness. That's just doing yoga. That's, you know, it may slow you down, but radical means let's do this more of the time rather than not. Can we do it 80% or 50% of the time, so that when we're managing, we're not knee-jerk reaction managing, which is what most of us do, and the mouth goes off before we have a chance to think about what we should have said, right? So that's really that mindful leadership. And I think leadership in today's world is much more difficult than it used to be, because people are more aware than they used to be. And they're sick and tired of being sick and tired and asking themselves the question, what is life really all about? Is my job or my career, is it really the end all to everything? And in the end, none of those people are around you when you're about to pass away. It's your family, it's your friends. Yes. They don't show up. If they do, they only show up to give you a card or in the hospital or bring you flowers, but they're not there when you're taking your last breath.
Yeah. Yeah. So with radical mindfulness, it sounds, if we can achieve it, it's going to really help us a lot. But how can we use it? How can we develop it? How can we use it? And how can we integrate that with our goals and our ambition, and sort of retain some kind of equilibrium between the two? Because it sounds like it could be complicated if someone doesn't really understand fully, and if they haven't considered anything like that before. Some of the clients I've got, I mean, if I said that to them, they're just, it doesn't matter how many degrees or doctorates or God knows what, they'd just be like, what are you talking about? I don't understand. So how can people go into it more?
Well, radical mindfulness is about asking yourself just a few basic questions. You know, nothing is difficult. We make it difficult, and that's why people won't attempt it, because they're like, well, they have this idea that we're supposed to sit in a yoga position floating over the ocean or something. And somehow,
hey, Danielle, I'm a yoga teacher.
I had to throw that in there and jab, and in our white outfits, and, okay, the subtitle to my book is Radical Mindfulness, How to Find Peace in Less than 60 Seconds. And people always give me a hard time about that. Like, Daniel, why are you telling people they can find peace and tranquility in 60 seconds? And I said, because, they can. It's really about being present. So how do you do it? Well, I'll tell you this, I'm sitting in the Andes of Peru. I'm on the third floor of my home. You can probably see some of the mountains behind me. You don't have to be in a setting like this to find mindfulness or the radical mindfulness. You just got to ask yourself a few basic questions. We have no power in the past and we have no power in the future. So what do we do as business people to be more successful? Because that's really what this is all about. How can we be more successful? Stay present. What does that mean? That means taking a moment to use whatever technique works for you and however you choose to do it. There's no right or wrong. If someone's telling you this is the only way, run. There is not a way. There's your way of finding yourself into meditation, finding yourself into mindfulness. How do you do that? Some people use essential oils, or scents, vanilla, lavender. That brings them into the present moment. Yep. Some people use oils. Some people use Palo Santo, or they use yoga or meditation, right, to get into this place where they can ask themselves these questions. Where are my thoughts right now? Where are my thoughts right now? Are they in the future or the past? Anxiety and stress that we feel at work is mostly driven by our inability to stay present and get lost in what has happened with your boss or the person you answer to, or what might happen. Yeah. And the truth is, the next question is that once you ask, where am I? The next question, am I okay right now? Am I okay in this right here in this moment? The answer to that question is usually yes. Yeah. It's usually yes. And then the next question you want to ask yourself is, are the thoughts I'm having true? Have they ever been true? Because most of the time, if we're thinking about it in businesses, they're not gonna like me. They're gonna fire me. I'm not gonna get a promotion. Well, none of these things are true because it hasn't happened yet. I promise you, once it's happened, you can cry all you want. But if we put the energy, if you believe in the power of energy, that our thoughts are powerful, and wherever we put our thoughts, the reaction to our thoughts brings in lack of success or success. Either one. It's either one. And if we focus on that they're not going to give us that promotion, then that's exactly what's going to happen. And guess what? The only thing you are is right. Yeah. So be right about, staying focused in the moment. Now, most people have a hard time with that because they just can't seem to think. They don't believe that that's going to make a difference in their business or in their corporate job or in their career, but it does. Because you reacting to something that hasn't happened is not going to get you where you want to go. And that's the next question. Is what I'm doing right now getting me closer or further from my desired outcome? Yeah. So what's your desired outcome? If it's more clients and you're not making a phone call, then you're not getting where you want to go. Yeah. You need to make the phone call. If your desired outcome is to get promoted, but you're late to work, then you're not doing what you need to do to get promoted. So that is the next question once you kind of center yourself. I moved to Peru. I live in San Salvador, Peru, 3 years ago. And I moved here, acquired a center, which is in Pisac. And 6 months after that, the pandemic hit, right? And Peru was in lockdown for 180 days. So that means the country was closed down. I could do nothing. There was nobody in the streets. We were under martial law. So there's military in the streets, which is something I hadn't experienced. I'm American, North American. Everyone's American here, but North American. And so I would have lost my mind. Being somebody who's used to moving and fast and corporate, I really had to use these tools of keeping myself centered and realizing that the only thing I had to do during that time was to enjoy my day. There was absolutely nothing I could do about what was on the outside. So every day I had to read those steps and make sure, because there were moments, because I'm human, that I thought, I'm going to go bankrupt. there's no clients, or how am I going to pay for this? And how am I going to make an income? I'm in Peru. I'm not in the US anymore. And so how am I going to do this? I would go, whoa, Daniel, it's a beautiful day outside. Go outside and sit with your animals. And that's all I could do.
Yeah.
So when we ask ourselves those questions in business, it's about not getting caught up in the places you have absolutely no power, the future and the past.
Yeah. So basically, from that, it really means that if we do follow those ideas, if we do follow the questions, if we really do put into effect what you're saying, use your process, you can still have a high-flying career and corporate success, but you can still remember what life really is and how to enjoy it, because you're bringing yourself more down to earth and practical on every level.
That's exactly right. Because think about it. I remember once when my son was, I don't remember, maybe he was 5. And I remember sitting in the bed and he was watching cartoons.
Yeah.
And I was so lost in my thoughts that he eventually looked at me and said, Daddy, it's going to be okay.
Aww.
And I realized that I wasn't present.
Yes.
And he just wanted me to watch cartoons with him. When we're with our family and loved ones, we need to be present, not at work.
Yes.
And part of radical mindfulness is being mindful everywhere you're at, you know, and that's true. Not only think about it, most of the time we're trying to outthink the person we're trying to get business from.
Yep.
When we should be present to listen to what we call in the business world buying signals. When somebody's ready to, sometimes I remember just the other day, someone was talking. I said, yes, I'll buy that. And they kept talking. And I just looked at them and said, you keep talking and I'm just going to walk out. I said, yes, I don't want to hear anymore. Let's just get this thing moving, right?
Yeah.
It's important in business, especially when we have employees, to listen to what they have to say. And we can't do that if we're on the phone, on the computer, while trying to listen to somebody who's in front of us.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. It sounds excellent. I mean, I've read the book. I got it as soon as I heard about it. I got it the same day. Well, I didn't. I got it the following day, because even Amazon isn't that good. And I read it straight away, cover to cover, and I love it. I mean, I found it helped me so much just to be normal again, instead of, and one of the things I know, because I listened to one of your conferences the other day, and one of the things you were saying is simplify everything and don't overthink. Yes. And I'm like, oh my God, this is my big problem. I overthink everything always. Yeah. So I end up not doing anything, and then stressing about not doing anything. And I just put myself in this crazy sort of, I don't know what, and never move anywhere. So your book was a wonderful door opener. And you've just mentioned your retreat center in Peru, which I'm so looking forward to coming to next year, I hope. Tell me more about it, and what type of programs do you offer there? I mean, is it just a retreat, relaxed tourism, or are there programs you can do for, I mean, thinking of my clients, overly stressed executives, do you do programs for that type of thing?
Yes, I do. I do all of the above. It is designed. My retreat center is in San Salvador, Peru. Yep. I sit on 14 acres of land. I'm actually looking at Apu Pachatusan, which is in front of me right now. That's 16,000 feet. And I'm nestled in the middle of 2 mountains beside me.
Yeah.
We do 2 things. We host retreats.
Yep. So I can bring my clients there.
Yeah, you can bring your clients here, and we are basically a turnkey. We do everything for you. Why do people come to Peru? See Machu Picchu, right? They want to see Machu Picchu. So we make that happen for them. We buy train tickets. We do everything so that it's easy for you, the retreat leader, to teach what you came here to teach. On the other hand, I lead my own retreats. It's funny, you said something that to me almost feels like an oxymoron. Stressed out people coming to a retreat don't need another program. Stressed out people coming to a retreat need to retreat, get away, retreat. So my program is more about allowing the individual to slow down enough to experience who they are and what they are. I've had executives come out here and say, what a life-changing experience. The land does its job. The mountains does its job. The animals do their job. We do, within the structure of the week, we do talk about radical mindfulness. What does it mean? Sitting down in fire council and slowing down. I mean, we have a couple hundred parakeets that fly through here, eagles, hawks, all kinds of, and I have camelids, alpacas, guanacos. A busy executive doesn't need more planning, although when they make a trip here, they want to know that they're learning something. But the learning is not about what I have to teach you. The learning is about whether you can slow down enough to realize where you're at. And that's part of the process for a busy executive, right? Yeah. So, it's beautiful here. I have waterfalls. I have a river with trout that runs through my property. It's big, 14 acres or 5.2 hectares. 56,000 square meters property. And we sit up on a mesa overlooking the whole valley. Like right now I'm on the third floor. There's a rotunda up here and it's all glass. So I'm seeing the whole valley as I'm speaking to you. Yeah. And what a difference from flying from Los Angeles to New York overnight, working all day and flying back and sleeping in the airport, because it doesn't make any sense to spend $600 on a room when my flight's only 3 hours away.
Yeah.
So this is a beautiful spot, and they can go to my website and find that, or maybe next year they can come with you.
Yep. That would be good. So I can learn to slow down as well. Brilliant.
Yeah. It's funny because I don't open my kitchen till 8, right? And so the sun comes up at 5:30. It's funny to watch people going, now what?
Read my breakfast.
Just sit. Look at the mountains. I spend every day in front of my home staring at the mountains and it's just in awe and soaking that in.
Yeah.
It takes time, I think, for business people, be it corporate or entrepreneurs, any kind of person, it doesn't even matter, in our busy world, to slow down and take it in and realize that from here, you're miles away from your life. Yeah. And our life is not just the four walls of our home or our business. Our life is more than that. I think that, for me, I'm still active out here in my own way. I'm not flying from one country to the other, but in my own way, I'm still active, but I spend from 4 a.m. in the morning, 5 a.m. to about noon, if I'm lucky, working. And then from there, I'm outside. Yeah. I'm outside with the dogs or looking at the mountains.
Superb. Hang on, Daniel, we've lost you.
Forget.
Oh, you've come back.
Most corporate buildings are huge.
Daniel, hold on one second.
If you're in New York or the UK, anywhere where there's big buildings, the architect.
Hang on, we've lost you for a moment.
To the ambiance of the building.
Right. Can you go back to when you were looking at the mountains? Because then it froze.
Yeah, okay.
So, sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So, no, it's okay. It happens. And so, staring at the mountains all day, fishing, being in the rivers. I mean, one of the things that I find interesting, you don't have to be here to get there. This is just an opportunity to stop. Most corporate buildings around the world incorporate water as part of the structure. Why does an architect do that? It's not because it's pretty. It's because we as human beings need something to slow us down.
Yeah.
And so if you're one of those people that happen to be in a high rise, go downstairs, go on the street and sit at that water fountain. That's what it's for. Feel the water hitting your face. Close your eyes and pretend that, visualize, not pretend, visualize. You are wherever you choose to be, the Himalayas, the Andes, wherever it is that you choose to be. And use that opportunity to slow yourself down. And if you do that more than not, and I think you alluded to this earlier, Anna, it will change your life, not just your life, your health. Your health. I never really believed I would live past my 50s. I never, because I was moving so fast that I just felt I'd have a heart attack and die. Being out here, I see my 90s, and that's a blessing to feel that way.
Yeah. Well, like I've told you before, I want to be teaching yoga when I'm 100. So
there you go.
I need to move out there and come to your retreat regularly, definitely.
Yes.
But that sounds absolutely amazing. And I definitely will recommend to all of my clients that and all the audience, that they find out more about what you do. They see what you've got out there. They read the book. But do you have any final piece of wisdom or a key strategy that you think we should keep in mind to help us going forward?
It's funny, I just did what I would probably breathe.
Yeah.
We don't breathe. I didn't breathe. When I was on a plane, even on a plane, I was on a computer, because nowadays you get internet. Breathe. Just stop right now and just, every time I do that, I go, wow, I wasn't breathing.
Yeah.
Breathe into your life. Breathe into your business. Breathe into your career. Nothing is so important that you can't take a few minutes for yourself.
Yeah.
That moment that you might take will change who you are by slowing yourself down long enough to make decisions that are grounded rather than, as I said earlier, knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
You don't have to leave your corporate busyness to find radical mindfulness. It's just about taking time in the day. And by the way, I didn't mention this, but music's another good way to, and I'm not talking about hard rock and roll or, I'm talking about some meditation music, something that slows your mind down, because that doesn't slow your mind down. You just bob your head like this. But whatever it is, whatever it takes, slow down, get radically mindful. I still think that we have an opportunity as a globe, as a world, as a society to slow down before something slows us down again, and we may or may not have the opportunity. Many people during this time in our world didn't get that chance. They're not here anymore. You have that. You still have that opportunity. If you're listening to this and watching this, you have that opportunity. Don't waste it. Don't waste it.
Thank you. That's really amazing. And it's so true, that last point as well. So, Daniel, thank you so much for coming on the show. Oh, one last question. Where can people find you, and how can they get in touch with you to find out more? Obviously, I'll put it on the page, but for anyone that's listening to this and running, it definitely helps to know if you can say where they can contact you.
Yes. So I have two websites you can go and find out about me, and that's my name, danielgutierrez.com. And she'll put that in the typing so you can spell that. And then my retreat center, if you want to learn more about Catalina, which is catalinaretreatcenterperu.com. And both will give you the opportunity to schedule time with me if you want to talk about coming out here or what programs I have coming up. But if you're inclined to come out to see Machu Picchu in the sacred valley of the Incas, please do. And if you can wait, I'm sure Ann will be coming next year. And you can come with her. Either way, I'm here every day waiting for you.
Brilliant.
Thank you for this opportunity, Anna.
Well, thank you. And also, everybody, one last thing. Danielle is the most amazing coach, because even though I'm a coach, I have coaching with Danielle, and it helps so much to actually get your feet back down on earth, to see things positively, and to make much better choices. So I thoroughly recommend him as a coach as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Everybody have a great week. And Danielle, I will see you soon. Okay.
Yes, you will.
Bye.